Now we have a special counsel that is out of control, Robert Mueller. He reportedly now is investigating President Trump's businesses. He's sought his bank records according to the New York Times from Deutsche Bank. So what does this have to do with Russia collusion? What does this have to do with the Russia campaign? This is a special counsel who is a rogue prosecutor, in my view, constitutionally. You have and as the president has pointed out, you've got the ethics issues he has and the ethics issues his people have in terms of a conflict of interest, certainly as a parent and as direct as anything that Jeff Sessions would have had if he was overseeing the Mr. Mueller. And I noted that Rod Rosenstein, now this is the constitutional issue, who supposedly appointed Mueller, is saying Mueller doesn't report to him on a day-to-day basis. Well, how does that work constitutionally? So they bring an outside lawyer into the Justice Department, not subject to confirmation by the Senate, not subject to someone who is confirmed by the Senate or appointed by the President, who just gets to go around prosecuting people, impaneling grand juries, subpoenaing people's records. Those are real constitutionally suspect actions by someone who doesn't necessarily have the authority to do so. And frankly, if the President's listening or his legal team is listening, they should think about constitutional challenges to what Mueller is up to. Because as I think, and it doesn't mean you can't necessarily have a special counsel in theory, but a special counsel that brings in an outside lawyer that isn't subject to day-to-day direct supervision by a constitutional officer confirmed by the Senate, there's real constitutional concerns. And the regulations need to be fixed, and they need to have someone who, besides the constitutional issues, someone who obviously isn't subjected to or isn't compromised. Because the way I'm trying to think of the words, the appointment of Mueller is compromised. It was engendered by a crime, it looks like. Mr. Comey took records he wasn't allowed to take from the government and leaked them improperly to the New York Times, as he stated under oath, with the purpose of getting the special counsel appointed. So you had the outgoing FBI director potentially commit a crime in order to get his buddy Mueller appointed as special counsel? Look, you call the whole thing off if that's the case. And forget about the constitutional issues, just bring in someone different. And the President's right to be concerned that the Justice Department's out of control. You have the Attorney General recusing himself from now the most significant investigation the Justice Department is doing. They have upwards of 15 lawyers investigating and looking at President Trump. There's no other investigation, I guarantee you, of that size going on in the Justice Department right now. And it isn't being supervised by anyone answerable to the President, practically speaking, or even answerable, practically speaking, to people placed in there by the President and confirmed by the United States Senate. Talk about the deep state out of control. This is a deep state special, this special counsel investigation. And as I've always said, it's out of control. It needs to be either clipped or shut down. Shut it down. And the President is someone who is willing to fire Comey and do the right thing, no matter the blowback. And frankly, he ought to consider directing the Justice Department to bring Mueller under control or fire him. So I think he's right to be angry, and I know everyone's upset that he's yelling at Jeff Sessions, who is, on so many matters near and dear to conservative hearts, good, especially on immigration issues, on rule of law issues. So it's, I'm sure, not a pleasant place to be if you're the Attorney General, to have the President complain about your major decision you made as Attorney General. There are a lot of other good decisions he's making for which he should be supported, but let's not pretend that this is not a significant crisis. This gang is trying to put the President and his family in jail if they can. Why otherwise would they be expanding an investigation in such a radical way? This is a serious issue, and I think you know, the media gets apoplectic when the President starts talking about what he's thinking. He's the President. He's allowed to have views of what his Attorney General is saying and doing. The President talked to the, what's interesting, the media would complain that the Attorney General and the President talked about these complaints. So that he's not allowed to do, but he's also not allowed to comment on his concerns about the Attorney General and the way the Justice Department's operating. Now, on the other hand, I would recommend the president be more direct in making sure the Justice Department is doing what it needs to do.